Greetings, this is Coach Charlene, and welcome to Dream Girls Network. We are streaming live on YouTube, just giving it a moment so that we can get there. Ooh, I see us on YouTube, Joanne.
All right.
But let me do this because I hear, like, all right. Be patient with us here for a minute, you guys. I gotta tell us how you're doing today, Joanne, while I'm trying to
I
figure out the
am
sound.
doing well. This is always my favorite time of the year. Um, Actually, New Year's Eve. New Year's is always my favorite time. Just taking the time to reflect on how the year went and then what's the new thing that we're about to step into. So that's always I really enjoy this time of year.
Awesome. Now I think we are okay. I know it's an uncomfortable pause, but just one moment. Just one moment. I want to make sure that people can hear us online. So let me go to check it out. This is what you call flying the plane, building it while you're flying it. And so I just want to make sure that
Just
people can hear
tweak
us. So,
things.
Joanne, just tell us really quickly your perception of what Dream Girls Network is so I can hear.
So Dream Girls Network has just been um, just this community of women that are that have a call on their lives or they're pursuing the call on their lives, and through the network they are able to really pinpoint what it is that God is calling them to do, and then be equipped and practice and just learn how to step out there boldly. And Dream Girls Network is it's just it's a good support system, a great support system. You've always have women there to pray for you and encourage you and speak into you and just cheer you on. So it's a great community.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you on that. And the reason why I agree, because I think women, they have so much power on the inside of them, and sometimes life tends to overshadow with challenges and trauma and all of that kind of buries us, and then we kind of go inside and then we don't begin to speak. And so I
Mhm.
know that God gave it to me because I had started like connecting with other women that were like fivefold ministry women or women speakers and stuff like that that wanted a place so that they can like release their voice. And so I'm so thankful because the growth that I've witnessed from the girls being there and from myself
Mhm.
too with leading something like that has been pretty phenomenal. So we decided to just come live today. You're going to be seeing me bring on some of the dream girls, and we're going to be having conversations and just chatting. But this one right here, we just wanted to encourage you. Like, it's the end of the year. Oh my God, Joanne, can you believe it? It's like literally almost 2025.
2024 just flew by.
It totally flew by. It totally flew by. So let's talk about some moments of 2024. Let's do some reflecting. And that's what I like to do. Like at the end of the year, I like to like just take time to see
Yeah,
what did I spend my heartbeats doing.
man.
So
Oh
tell
yeah,
me what you
2024 was just such a gift, and I think, and I know I grew so much. Um, there were doors that were opened that I honestly was like, "Oh my goodness, can I go through this door?" Then you learn just to say yes. And Dream Girls Network, as you know, Coach Charlene talks about leaning into your discomfort. So some of the things that have happened for 2024 is being a part of the Powerhouse podcast. Now that was a big challenge for me because when my pastor asked me to be a host, my initial reaction is, no. But again, Coach tells us and instructs us not to shrink back from opportunities, but just to lean in. And I definitely grew, and by the time we were done with our season, I was enjoying myself. I wasn't freaking out, and I was gaining my confidence. And I was just grateful for the opportunity to be a co-host on the podcast, and I met some really great people. And I also had other speaking opportunities, just going back to the or middle school and teaching about discovering me, and what other speaking engagements have we done? We at least did one conference, right?
Yeah, we
So,
did. Yeah, you spoke there. And then also even at the prayer, we did the prayer board and got an
oh yeah,
opportunity
yeah,
to
yeah,
share.
yeah,
While you were talking about discovering me, can you tell the audience a little bit more about discovering me? Like, where did that come from? What is it?
yeah,
And just
yeah.
give us a little bit of context.
Okay, so from my background, I was one of those that was surrounded. I felt like I was surrounded by great people, and I was. I Everyone had just great talents and abilities, and they were pastors and leaders and speakers and just great people. And when I looked at myself, I felt that God overlooked me, that He didn't give me gifts and talents and abilities, and I really struggled with identity. And being a part of Dream Girls Network and A Night to Dream, they're talking about, what did God put on the inside of you? And I really felt like I didn't have anything until I became purposeful in my self discovery. I asked myself those questions, like, what are my interests? What dreams are recurring? What do I gravitate towards? All those questions, those self reflective questions that we have to take time to ask ourselves. And I know that God doesn't make junk. He cannot, right? So, and He made me,
Wow.
so therefore He made me with something special. And so I really had to be purposeful in going down that self discovery journey. And lo and behold, that whole journey was purposeful because it gave me a fire and a passion to then go ahead and share my story and then help encourage other people to go on their own self discovery journey. And my passion has always been to work with youth. So I do bring that message out into the schools and to my youth group and whoever will listen. Right. And then most recently, I was able to bring that message to the juvenile hall, which was another opportunity that I am grateful that came across to me most recently. So, but that's just discovering me because um, Charlene says, I don't know if it was Charlene or somebody else, but they were saying that you have to go to your manufacturer
Yeah.
to get the answers that we're looking for. So I really had to go to him and say, God, I know you put something in me. I know you have a purpose and plan for me. What is it? Please show me.
Yeah.
And he is faithful, you guys. He is faithful. I know I'm not the only one here that's kind of like, well, what am I here for? We all have to be able to discover our purposes. And it might not just be one purpose. I think sometimes we get hung up on what's the one thing I need to do, right? But
Right.
there may be a variety of things. We're diamonds. We're multifaceted. So just whatever the desires are in your heart, and if they glorify God, run after it.
Yes.
And don't be scared to mess up. Don't be scared to start small because we all have to start somewhere. And I most definitely started off, just like tippy toeing with my prayers, and then just like that worked. Okay, maybe I can pray a little bit longer. Okay, that worked. Maybe I can pray longer. And then to be able to speak in a conference or put on an hour presentation, like, I mean, it's just a journey of growth, and I am just so thankful that I have Coach Charlene to, help encourage me and walk alongside me, and my pastors and different voices that have been able to speak into me.
Yeah, that's awesome. One of the things that, I think I've always gone after is like my purpose, my purpose. Like, what is it that God sent me down here on the earth realm? And so that's why I talk about that a lot because until you understand really what He wants you to do or your purpose, the original reason for you being, because there's a reason that we're here. A lot of times we just keep going through life feeling like we're going through like a rat race in a sense because there's no purpose. But when you find purpose and passion, just like you talked about, Joanne, just now, like you're like just on this trajectory of just like doing everything that you said before that your desire was, you're starting to actually do that. And it's so rewarding for me as a visionary to be able to see that, wow, this dream that I had about having this group of women come and stand and share their story, it just really is so fulfilling for me. And I think that we need to hear different voices. We
Mm-hmm.
really do, because your story is so profound that it's going to touch so many people that mine won't touch.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think if we can kind of get into the gist of always understanding that your uniqueness, because Joanne has her own fingerprint and you have your own calling and everything that God wants you to do. So to be able to actually share it in a group, it inspires other people to want to do the same thing. So
Yeah.
I love that you wrote the Discovering Me, because imagine if we would know who we are like from the beginning.
Man. Yes. And just telling the students, like the youth, that you are just powerful now. You don't have to wait till you're 45, 50, 60, 70
Yes,
to be somebody. Like you are somebody right now.
that's right.
If you have, and you carry, if you're carrying the spirit of God, like you can speak into situations, you can speak into people, you can speak into your circumstances. Like you are a creative being, and man,
I
I mean,
know.
there was one time I had a 6-year-old prophesy to me. I'm like, woo, I receive it.
Wow, that's
No,
awesome. That's what I'm
it's just
talking about.
right. So if you know what you carry from an early age, and then you can be purposeful in just living out your life. And then I spoke a couple months ago. I spoke at a Red Ribbon Week, and we were talking about being drug free. And there are statistics out there about the deaths from fentanyl and all these other drug abuse,
Yes.
right? And just that our kids go through, and it's like if they knew who they were, if they knew their purpose, if they knew God's plan for them, like they wouldn't be saying yes so quickly and easily to drugs. Um, yes, they do come from different backgrounds that might, lead them down that path, a little bit easier than others. But if they knew what they carried and
Mm.
how impactful they are and can be right now, we wouldn't see the drug rates that we see.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what's so profound about what you're doing with your ministry work as the youth pastor. I mean, to be able to actually speak into young people's lives. I mean, this is our legacy. These are the people that are going to be leading in the future. So to have that type of commitment that you have to pour into their lives is pretty amazing. And so, tell me about how did you find out that it was you were supposed to be youth pastor Joanne?
Yes. um, I am a dreamer. God gives me dreams at night. And he, first of all, led me into a fast. And it was a pretty long fast. I think this one was about a week of just a water fast. And one of the last nights, I was in this room full of students. They were running around. I was doing paperwork. And I saw and heard the words youth pastor. And in my head, or in my dream, I was like, yes, Lord, so just be it unto me. I receive it. Yes, I can do it. And then when I woke up, of course, I'm like, I can't do that. That's not me. I'm like, what? I've got no idea. But it's like, I think I was talking to you or Don. They said, believe in the day what you have heard in the night. And
Yes.
so, but in that dream, I knew that I knew that I knew it was a commissioning. Like it was, this is who you are. This is what you're to do. It was just so clear. But I had to be obedient. And I went to my pastor and I told him I had this dream. Like I feel like I'm supposed to like start this youth group. And he's like, go for it. This was actually in October. And then in November, he's like, so what's going on with the youth group? I'm like, I'm not perfect yet. And really, what helped me was that he said, if I waited to be perfect to become a pastor, I still wouldn't be a pastor. And that
Exactly.
really helped me because I'm like, okay, he's an amazing pastor. He's been doing it for 20 some years now. And if he's still not perfect and he's doing an amazing job and anointed, then I can do this youth pastoring, right? And so then in December, I started. And Actually, it's interesting that you brought that up because yesterday we had our 5-year anniversary.
Yeah,
So we
yes, yes,
celebrated with
yes.
the youth, and um, it's just been a growing journey, and God is faithful. And
Yes,
I
he is.
know I wouldn't be I won't do it without him. I can't do it without him, you know. I rely on him for the messages, just for everything, just because it's such a um it's a heavy call because I'm responsible for what I teach the youth. And
That's
so I
right.
do not take that lightly at all. And so it's just a matter of if God calls you, then trusting him that he will equip you and guide you and give you what you need to be able to carry out the call.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And you know what? Nobody ever feels like ready.
Yeah.
They really don't. I remember back, I mean, it's been so long ago, but when God called me into ministry, I was like, I remember it being at this conference, and it was, I think, Pastor Claudette Copeland. She was speaking. Taffy Dollar, all of those folks were there, but Claudette Copeland in particular, she was speaking, and I mean, it was so profound. And she said, "Touch your neighbor in front of you and said, 'Girl, why haven't you moved?'" And then that girl pushed me like that, and it just like went through me, like literally, and I just like was out. I had to go over in the corner and just worship because I was like, Lord, I'm good with just being like a first lady. I can just be like, hey, how you guys doing? And he was like, nope. But what was powerful, and he said, until you start speaking out what I called you to be, you will not have people draw toward you that I have called toward you. So I had to, in a sense, get delivered from being able to even say Pastor Charlene or Minister Johnson. So it was really a journey, but when I started stepping into who he called me to be, that's where the people that he wanted me to impact. So I think people feel inadequate because you can't do it in and of yourself. And the person I was then is not the person that I am today. So
Mhm.
it's a continually transforming and renewing of the mind, and you stepping out and yielding and submitting to him at every obedience structure, at every turn, and then you become this different type of person. So yeah, I
Mhm.
love that. Guess who just joined us? Firefall. Hey, Dodie.
Hey, sorry,
She
my
was fighting
lighting
to
isn't
get
the
in with
best.
us. Tell us who you are. You just popped into our conversation, just bust in. Tell us who you are.
You know,
I
why
know.
not? It's Firefall.
Yeah,
That's what
why don't you do
Firefall
a quick
does.
intro for us and then we'll get into some more conversation.
Well, I'm Dodie, or AKA Firefall Ministry. So I'm just here today and really kind of listening to you guys.
Okay. Well, we like that. We will let you listen for a minute, but you think you're going to be just listening, but we'll see. This is what I do too, you guys. People always try to stay in their little cubby hole, but no, we can't do that. We got stuff to do. Right, Joanne?
You got stuff to do, and Coach Charlie won't let you.
Uh-uh. No, no, no. And you know what? Everything that I do for others, as far as mentoring and stuff like that, it's been done to me. I have to tell you a story about what happened, what really made me break out of the spirit of intimidation. Because a lot of times when we're in ministry, say you're serving in a ministry or something like that, and then you're like afraid to like speak in front of other people, especially if you have a calling, you know that that's what you're supposed to be doing, and sometimes the pastors and stuff, they can seem a little bit intimidating, and so I was in that space of this spirit of intimidation, and so this is when I had just started kind of like stepping out just a little bit, like I'll pray for someone out loud or something like that. And so I was asked to go present something to this group of men. And so the lady, she was going to be late, and I was like, "Oh, are you kidding me? I am not going in there and talking to these dudes." It was about 24 guys. And so she was like, "You have to. I'm late. I will not get there, and Pastor has to have this information today." And so I went, and I was like, "Oh my God!" I had on this. I'll never forget it. A pink shirt. black pants, walked in there to the thing, and then when I got to the door, there was a one of the ministers. He's like, "What are you doing here? Women aren't allowed in here." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Women aren't allowed in here." I said, "Well, Pastor wants this information shared." He said, "Well, you just gotta wait outside." And so I was outside the door. Now, you guys, I've never spoken in front of anybody at this point. And so I'm outside. I'm sweating at that point. Like my shirt is getting wetter by the moment. And then all of a sudden, I hear the pastor coming up the hallway. I was like, this is the worst feeling in the world. And then, so he comes, he's like, "What are you doing out here?" I couldn't even like talk. And he's like, "Come in and whatever you got to do, go ahead and do it." And so, you guys, I started, I was like, "Okay, cool. I got this piece of paper here. I can read easy. This is not a problem." And I read it. And I said, "Anybody have any questions?" A couple questions. I answered the questions. And then the Holy Spirit said, "Now I want you to encourage the men." And I heard that so loud and so clear that I must have looked crazy on my face because the pastor said, "You okay? What's going on?" I said, "I'm supposed to encourage the men." And they kind of looked at me crazy because I've never spoken at all anywhere. And then he kind of leaned back and he was there with his son. He said, "Okay, encourage the men." And you guys know what came out? I mean, God's virtue came out. We had been writing window shoppers for probably maybe that last year. We had just finished it. And it was like a floodgate. It just started coming out, all of the virtue. Like I had no fear, nothing. It just flowed out. And then when I got finished, they were like in awe, like mouth open, like, "Oh my gosh, she talks." She actually preaches. And so after that, I just kind of, I was like shaking, like really shaking because the anointing was really speaking. And then the guy that told me to wait outside, he said, "Well, sister, you preaching to the choir." And then I was like, "Okay, how do you respond to that?" I didn't even know how to respond to that. But then the pastor, he goes, you be quiet. She is speaking to you. Now, preach to him some more, Charlene." And then I start overflowing again. And I went back to my meeting and I was like drenched, wet. And but I was relieved at the same time because at that time the spirit of intimidation broke. And then it was really hard to shut me up at that point. Then I was preaching all over the place. I was doing everything that I was supposed to be doing, but it just reminds me that sometimes we get intimidated when people are a little bit ahead of us, but that's where we really need to lean in a little bit more. Like, I want to be around people that's going to make me stand on my tippy toes, like Lisa Nichols says, that
Mm-hmm.
make me stretch to be a better me. And so in that, it just reminded me of a story when they were when Jesus had to rebuke the disciples when the lady came to wash his feet because they were talking trash about that, and then Jesus said, "Let her alone. This she did. She did this beforehand, seeking to anoint my body for burial." So there's purposes, there's reasons why God does what He does with women, and that's why it's so important, I think, for women to find their voice and to speak up and do the things that God's calling you to, because one voice at the right pitch can create an avalanche, and so your story can touch lives and actually save lives. So that's
Mm-hmm.
my little soapbox. So, Dodie, tell us a little bit about what's going on with you.
Okay. I think right now it's, our family is moving to the East Coast next summer. So it's really been about purging and um, really understanding that material things don't really move you forward. They don't really take care of you. Um, we're just really learning to let go and start over. So this past few months have just really been going through memories, sorting through stuff that I'm not sure any of us realize that we keep like hoarded in our closets and we haven't pulled them out in years. And so that's really, where I've been, a lot of emotions, a lot of just really sitting down and being grateful for the memories that we have created with friends, with family, building up relationships. And so if I take what I've been going through kind of on my own in these last couple months, I kind of take away from it that it's preparing us for the beginning of really an unknown. Um, we don't have a house built, we don't have a foundation laid, we have nothing, we just have the land. And so it's been a really interesting couple months and just really learning to let go. And, sometimes what is that saying where one man's trash is another person's treasure? So
Mm-hmm.
even though what we're donating isn't trash, it's really just letting go of things and realizing that whatever God has for us on the East Coast, we'll take one step at a time and um, really rebuild, really from the foundation up. It's really, some things are hitting us, spiritually, where when you start, when you take a piece of land, because we bought land, so when you take a piece of land, you have to clear the debris, you have to clear old roots, and you have to be able to literally rebuild a foundation that you don't even know how to do. You just have to trust that you have the right pieces, the right supplies, the right materials, and um, hopefully follow the blueprint that's been designed and approved, and you just kind of release everything at that point. So if there's a spiritual thing with that, it's just trusting the foundation that we're about to build and to create together with my husband and I. It's kind of scary, really, but when all you have is trust, so you just trust in God that you're doing the right thing. And of course, my grandbabies are there. My daughter, today's her birthday, so I'm excited, but I'm missing her birthday. But um, it's going to be exciting once we get there next summer. So that's where I think what keeps us moving each day with packing and making several trips to the donation site. But
Mhm.
in the end, we believe it'll be worth it. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely awesome. Definitely. I got a little birthday too with a little Yemi. He turns 4 today. So we got some
yeah.
birthday celebrations. So you guys have been with me for a while. What would you say if there's someone out there that's struggling with abuse, with feeling inadequate, with the imposter syndrome, with those type of things that women struggle with all the time. They're on the other end of this and they're really going through a rough time. Where would you tell them to begin to find their voice? I'll start with Joanne.
I would say that it begins and ends with God. Because, like I said earlier, like He does not make junk. And the very fact that you are here means that there is a purpose and a plan for you. And and that purpose and plan can be revealed as you connect with Him, as you connect with God. And I would also say like he puts in us the desires of our, or he gives us the desires of our hearts, and if he's the one that put that desire in the first place, like you can trust that desire. If it glorifies him, you can trust that. And just living for him, like we all, it's like when we're all pursuing our purpose and a plan, um one blanket purpose that we all have is to spread the gospel. So if you don't know what to do, start there. Start sharing love, start sharing the word, and then your assignment can grow from there. And that's really what helped me when I was just like, oh man, God has nothing for me. But there is a great commission, and we're all part of that great commission. And how you do it will be unique to you, but if you don't know where to start, start there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. What you think, Dodie?
I believe when women are first starting out on their journey of healing, it's not definitely not easy. It's taken me years to walk through. the emotions, to walk through the scenarios, things that were done to me, if I was to speak from my heart. But you have to be willing to release, I believe, what's happened to you, but don't release it in, I guess, when you release it too much to your audience, make sure that you release it in such a way that it encourages other women that it's okay to start their journey, that they're in a safe place, that they're in a place where they can release through their own mouth that they're desiring to be healed. I don't know if that makes sense, but it took me years to be able to speak from a place of safety and from a place of knowing that the women that were around me were basically going to be my circle of strength, my circle of prayer, my circle where I knew that I was safe to release everything that I had gone through growing up in a foster home, growing up in an adoptive home. But I had to know that it was okay to start my journey and that I was in the right circle. So I believe you need to have, I'm not saying a lot of women around you and a lot of people around you, but if I was to look at both of you that are on today, you're definitely my circle. And I don't have a huge circle around me because I believe what I've been through, I need to make sure that once I've released that healing, which I have, that I have the audience that's waiting for me to release my story. And it's kind of hard sometimes for me to, say, okay, I can share anything and everything and know that if nobody else is touched but one woman in the room, then it was okay. And I would say when you're starting your journey, to know that you're in a safe place and make sure you're in the right circle. And that when you do release your emotions, you release that pain that has hurt you or tore you down, to make sure that when you do release it, that you leave with a sense, the emptiness of the pain, but the feeling of what God has for you. The feeling that you weren't just put on this earth to be tore down, put down, and devoured by the enemy, but yet you can start your journey of healing. And see, once we start that journey in healing, even when we're done talking and that session is closed, the enemy is going to come back stronger and try to attack us because he didn't want us to share our story in the first place. And it always has to begin with the tests that we went through, the memories that we went through for our story to begin. So, trust the journey. It's not always easy. There's a lot of emotions,
Yeah.
but in the end, it definitely starts the journey in the healing process for someone else. Your story isn't meant for you to keep.
Mm-hmm.
It's not meant for you to have a closed mouth, but yet to release it. And that took me years to understand that it wasn't, I had to learn that when I released my story, not to expect the judgment, not to expect what the enemy was going to start tearing through my mind and start putting words in my mind. But you have to be willing to receive even the love and to allow the barriers to come down, because my barriers were so tight that it was like a brick wall. And I know you, Coach Charlene, had to bust through that wall. And I had gone through a lot of healing before, but it just wasn't the right circle. It wasn't the right, I don't believe, always the right people around me. Their motives were not what I needed. And when you truly are in that right place of healing, that right um, altar, you're at the altar where God needs you to be at, then you can just pour it out, release it out, so that there's room for Him to come in and fill you.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, that's really good. I think what I'm hearing from you in particular is just the importance of really having like a tribe, or your circle. I mean, they say if you look at your circle of the five people that are in your circle, and if they're not going anywhere, guess what? You're probably not going to be going anywhere. So you want to make sure,
Right.
and when you're dealing with people like women that have been through trauma and all of those kind of things, you need to have that safe space. Like, for instance, one of the things that I always was wondering, and I always questioned it, questioned God about it because He had called me into ministry and into being there for women. Now, I personally have not experienced any abuse or anything like that particular in that direction, but God continued to draw people toward me that has. I always was like, Lord, why are you drawing this person toward me? I can't really relate to what they've gone through. And He said, yes, you can. And this is why you can relate to what they're going through. And I was like, I mean, so that was like a big aha moment for me. Like even with the Dream Girls Network, you guys, because I used to try to beg off often and say, well, Lord, you can call somebody else to do that. Go find somebody else that has walked through that. And he was like, no, you're gonna do it. And but what I wanted to say in there, the connection between women that are really after God's heart, that really have the love of Christ in their heart, to open up into spaces where women can actually be their authentic self. There's absolutely nothing like you doing what God told you to do. So I like also what you said, Joanne, about, you know what, if you don't know what to do, just start, at least witnessing to the Lord, or get with your church. I would say anybody out there that's stuck and they haven't found their voice yet, to some kind of way. If it's going to church, go to church, try to get with the community, hear the word, get by yourself with your manufacturer, because your manufacturer, God Himself, He designed you, He fashioned you before He formed you in your mother's womb. He knew you, He loves you, and He wants something for your life. And so the circumstances of life probably has clouded your ability to see. But when you start spending time with Him, I mean, like really spending time not on your phone, quiet time with Him in your secret place, crying out to Him, saying, Lord, whatever it is that you need to cry out, I'm stuck. I'm lost. Whatever it is, you need to like be honest with them, because you can't get there until you hear your current situation. You need to recognize that, dang, I'm really stuck. I don't know what's going on. I need some help. If you have somebody that you really care about, or if you hear that resonates with you, reach out to that person. Don't be afraid to reach out, because I guarantee you one thing. Like for instance, if Dodie would have never reached out to me, I don't know what would have happened. You see what I'm saying? So you got to reach out to people. Same thing, Joanne. If we hadn't connected, like what would we be doing differently? Would you be out of your shell? I think you would, but
Well, honestly though, because like we were talking about, you were talking about intimidation earlier, and like I like to say now, I'm like, I found Charlene like intimidating, like, and I say she wore her crown well, but I was like, this woman, like, I need to hook up my train with her because she's going places, right? Right, so if you become like the ones who you hang around, like be willing to go to the ones that kind of intimidate you a little bit, like because they're
yes,
doing a little bit more than you are, and they will challenge you to be your authentic, just to take out the greatness out that's within you. And so I think that's important. Like, don't be afraid to just like step into a little bit bigger shoes and grow into them.
that's good. Yep, absolutely good. And then you guys, if I don't have my Bible with me, but in Acts, I think it's chapter 9, and it talks about Paul and seeing a vision, and it says, and a vision appeared unto Paul in the night, and he said, immediately we went. So God gave Paul the vision, but then it said immediately we went. See, there was people that were connected to his call. So
Mm.
when you find your voice, there are people that are connected. For instance, when I began to start doing Dream Girls, there were people connected to that when I said yes and when I finally stepped out. Same thing when pastors have churches. It's your vision. They draw people to the vision so that it can help support that particular ministry. So God is always in the business of making sure that He connects you with someone, just like He connected Elizabeth and Mary. He did not put the call on their lives to birth Jesus and to birth. I mean, John the Baptist. He didn't just put that on them and not tell them what to do. He always gives you instructions of what to do, who to connect to, what church to go to, what person you need to have in your life. So know that whatever you're dealing with, whatever you're going, there's somebody that's actually waiting for you to even say, hey, I need to talk. Can we talk? Can you pray with me? Or whatever. There is somebody out there. You just have to break out of your shell and just get a little bit uncomfortable, like Joanne just mentioned, and say something.
Hmm. And I love how God, when we allow him to, he turns our mess into the message. Like my mess has become my message, right? And then
Yeah.
and like Dodie was saying, you don't have to be ashamed. Like once you are in, like you're healed from that situation, you don't have to be ashamed. That's a testimony unto God, you know? And that can be a message that you can shout from the mountaintop, like, look what God has done and what he has brought me through. And that helps take someone else out of their mess, right? I mean, so
Yes.
there is no shame in mess.
No.
Like, let God use that mess.
That's right. No, it's so true because some people think that they're beyond the point of help, but
Yeah.
no one is beyond the point of help. I don't care who you are, I don't care how low down you feel you are, God still has put purpose and destiny and greatness on the inside of you, and He's ready for you to manifest that. So I am so thankful for these two mighty women of God. They have been an absolute blessing into my life, into my ministry. Um, Definitely would not be where I am now without their support. With Dream Girls, Night to Dream, they've been faithful in everything that I've ever done, and I'm just so thankful that I can get to call you guys mighty women of God, preachers, teachers, prophetic voices, and all of that, and then some. So I'm so thankful. So, you guys, as we get ready to wrap up, what type of encouragement can we give the ladies as we get ready to transition out of 2024 and into 2025? Let's talk about a few things that God has put in your heart for the ladies in this season right now.
You want to go ahead, Dodie?
Yeah, you go first.
No.
Hmm.
Um, I think anytime you start a new year, I would say don't get caught up in everybody else's resolutions. When we start something new, you need to seek deep within yourself and trust the God in you when he starts to speak to you. If you have to journal things, if you have to write it down so that you can see what Holy Spirit is speaking to you, then just start that 2025 out with just knowing that this is a new year, it's a new beginning. That a lot of times when I hear some pastors in the pulpit, they talk about those resolutions and you got to do this, you got to do that, but really come out from behind all that control of the religiosity and just understand that you get into your quiet place, you get into that place of rest, and you listen to what Holy Spirit has for you. um, I've been around groups in the past where this is what we're going to do for the first month of January. But if it doesn't resonate and line up with what Holy Spirit is telling you to do, then make sure you hear correctly and just be, to me, it's starting 2025 with a new beginning. It's a new year, it's a new day, it's a new month, and just embrace what God has for you in this new year. If I was to look at your journey and you're just starting your journey of healing, start the journey of healing. Trust God, trust your tribe, and just begin that process to wholeness. Because trust me, it took me years to get to this place where now I can look at 2025 and be excited. I can look at the tribe that God has placed around me, the Dream Girls network that He has placed in my circle, and know that I can reach out to any one of them and say, hey, I need prayer for this. I need this broken off, or I need you to stand in agreement with me for what I'm getting ready to embrace. So, if I can challenge any one of you that's listening today, then trust God, trust who you are and whose you are. It's like Joanne said earlier, we look to people and we feel like their strong is, I mean, their crown is placed in the center of their head much better than ours, and that maybe ours is tilted. But when we start looking at the reflection in the mirror and we feel like, you know, hey, is other people seeing that my crown's a little bit tipped to the right or tipped to the left and not in the center? But that's when we start allowing the enemy to show us a different reflection of what God sees. So trust the God in you, and just know that each year, each month, it's a new beginning. Even each day, the scripture says that there's joy in the morning, and so that's what I look for. And I'm excited for 2025. I really am.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would say something similar. I would say keep your focus on God and just live. There have been a lot of deaths this year, like within our church, and time is not like, I mean, we don't know our last day, but if we focus on God and just live, like be willing to take risks and be uncomfortable and try new things. Like, I mean, life is a gift, and we honor God, I believe, by just living it out the best we can and just to the fullest, because he gave his son so that we can have life to the fullest. So I would encourage you just to don't play small and shrink back, but just keep your eyes focused on God and live out of your soul from the bottom of your heart. I couldn't say that like emphatically enough. Just live, live.
I love it. That is such good stuff. And I would actually ditto ditto what both of you guys said. I think I want to because there's someone that are beating themselves up because they didn't get accomplished
Mhm.
what they wanted to get accomplished last year. And so I'm speaking directly to you, whoever you are. And I'm going to just say this one sentence. You do not hold on to your history at the expense of your destiny. Don't hold on to 2024 because it will eclipse 2025. And so that's you go to the Lord to have Him help you to release whatever you have to release in the past. Learn from it. Learn from your 2023. Look at the lessons that you need to learn. Did you make a commitment and you didn't keep the commitment? Don't beat yourself up for it. Allow yourself grace. You deserve grace because many of us didn't do all of the things that we wanted to, but we're still here. As long as I have breath in my body, I still have time to do my purpose. As long as I'm breathing, as long as my heart is beating, I still have time. So please, whatever you do, learn from your history, but don't allow your history to dictate what's going to happen for you in 2025. And 2025 is a new slate. It's almost like you got a
Mhm.
new piece of white paper and you create the canvas that you want to see on that paper. You have the power to create the canvas of your soul. And so that's what I would encourage you. Find out what it is that you want. What do you, like our coach, he always asked us, what do you want? What do you really want? I'm not talking
Right.
about a house, a car, and all that, but what do you really want? And then try to go for it and answer that question. And I absolutely love what you said, Joanne, about live. Live. Nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow. So you have to live this day as if it were your last. I have to love harder. I have to forgive quicker. I can't be consumed by all of the crazy going around, all around me. I have to live in the moment and do the things that I see that God's telling me to do because He wants you to make an impact right there where you are. Right there where you are. Even if you're depressed and you're sitting in a corner all by yourself, He is there. All you have to do is call upon the name of the Lord, and then He will help you to get pulled up out of that darkness into the light so you can walk into your purpose. So, thank you guys so much for kicking it with me today. That was so much fun. You guys feel better now?
Yes, always good.
I always say that because, after you do something, like you don't know why you're doing anything and you don't know who you're going to impact, but I believe that people will be impacted by your stories that you guys share, the wisdom that you share. And so I love and appreciate you guys so much. Last thoughts, and then we're going to hang up. So thank you guys for joining. So I'm going to have them go around and just say some last closing words.
Oh, I thought that was my last closing word. So what
Nope. Hey,
if?
hey, hey, look, I'm making you go an extra mile.
How many times are we closing?
You know we got to close about 5 times.
Yeah, we usually have a record.
Hey, look, that's done. He closes about 5 times. But no, go ahead. This will be the last one.
You know what I was thinking when you were talking, when you were doing your first closing? It reminded me of when you and Dawn used to teach on sitting down in the first of the year and writing your goals, where you sit down and you write so many goals. And then at the end of the year, you go back and say, okay, I can cross this one off. I've accomplished that. I can cross that one off. But no, this one I didn't quite get. But that doesn't mean that we hold on to that and feel like we failed somewhere. But yet in January, you start add that goal back onto your goal list and you see, okay, how can I accomplish this goal that I wasn't able to, complete in 2024. So when you were saying that, it reminded me when you guys did your whole session on goals and teaching us, how to set our goals and then how to set up the even the steps under each goal so that we can accomplish those. Like with
Right,
me, I still haven't written my book. I still haven't completed that. That's been on every year of every list moving forward. But I can't I can't hold on to that and feel like I failed somewhere. It just didn't
right,
happen.
right,
But it's still in the back of my heart that when my story is in the right timing to be released, I will eventually accomplish that goal. But
yeah,
that's what I take away from what you had just said is don't let that hold you back,
yeah,
but it's a new, like you said, it's a new slate. It's a new sheet of paper. You can fill it on how you choose to fill it.
yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for that.
And I would encourage the ladies that are on here that are already a part of Dream Girls to um, spread the word and spread the love because you know what you have received from Dream Girls, like this is the support through the network. Um, it's kind of like just the idea, like what you have received, then you should always also give because
Mhm.
there are lots of women that are still searching for a tribe. They're searching for their voice. They're really searching, and so let's go get them.
Yeah,
Let's go get them this year. We Dream Girls Network we've been building, right? We've been building our own voice, and I think there's a time when we have built our voice. Now let's go out and help the other women and be intentional in that.
absolutely. I love that. And that is, I'm going to end with that. So thank you guys for joining. Subscribe to our Dream Girls Network channel. If you would like to be a guest and come on, send me a little message and let me know what you want to talk about. But you will be hearing from, I'm going to interview each of these beautiful people individually. And then we're going to do some group things just because there's so much wisdom. Like, I mean, look at the wisdom that they just shared today and the inspiration. I feel very inspired. So thank you guys so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Bye.
Where are you going? Let me see. Okay, it's done. It's done.